You have a board presentation in 30 minutes. You know your gap type. You've been practicing exercises for weeks. What do you do right now in the next 5 minutes to give yourself the best chance of showing up with the presence your audience needs to see? No theory preamble. You've had 6 modules of framework, diagnosis, and exercises. This is the convergence point. Everything you've learned feeds into a practical, repeatable protocol you can run in 5 minutes before any high-stakes situation. 3 stages, each with a specific purpose. 5 minutes total. This protocol is not a collection of tips. It's a structured routine that channels weeks of practice into the moments where practice matters most. Let's build it. The protocol has 3 stages, and the time allocation matters. 2 minutes for a context scan, reading the room before you enter it. 2 minutes for your gap counter move, 1 behavioral adjustment matched to your primary gap. 1 minute for your opening frame, the first sentence you'll deliver, designed to establish presence before the pressure hits. Notice the structure. 2/3 of the preparation is about understanding the room and your own pattern. Only 1/3 is about what you'll actually say. That ratio is deliberate. Most leaders over-rehearse their content and under-prepare for how their gap type will respond when things go off script. The protocol corrects that imbalance. Stage 1, the context scan, 2 minutes, 3 questions. Who is in the room and what do they need to see from me? Not what I want to show them, what they need to see. What's the real agenda? Not the stated one. What's actually at stake for the key players? And what is my default stress pattern? If you completed the assessment in Module 3, you know the answer. If you've been practicing exercises from Modules 4 through 6, you know which gap tends to reassert under pressure. This stage is the context gap intervention applied universally. Even expression and authority gap leaders benefit from reading the room before walking into it. Stage 2, the gap counter, move, 2 minutes. 1 behavioral adjustment, not 3, not 5. 1, cognitive overload undermines presence. If you're trying to remember 5 adjustments while answering a board member's question, you'll do none of them well. For expression gap, decide on 1 moment in the first 5 minutes where you will narrate your processing out loud. Not the conclusion, the thinking. Pick the moment now so you don't have to find it under pressure. For authority gap, prepare your opening frame. We're here to decide X. We have Y minutes. I'll close with a direction. Write it down. Say it once to yourself. For context gap, identify the one person in the room whose reaction you need to read most carefully, and commit to checking their response at 2 key moments. 1 counter move, matched to gap type. Practice in advance. Stage 3, the opening frame, 1 minute. The first thing you say when the meeting starts or when you begin your presentation. This isn't a script for the entire session. It's the opening sentence, designed to establish presence before the pressure hits. The research from the virtual presence work in Unit 7.1 applies here too. The leader who frames the first 90 seconds sets the tone for everything that follows. In person, this is even more powerful because physical presence amplifies the structural move. Your posture, your eye contact, the way you hold the room's attention, all of it reinforces the words. Write the sentence, say it once to yourself, walk in and deliver it. That's the protocol. Context scan, counter move, opening frame. 5 minutes. Repeatable before any high stakes moment. Here's a critical point. This protocol is not a magic trick. It works because you've been building the underlying capacity through weeks of practice. Pick one exercise, Practice in real situations for 4 weeks. Rate yourself weekly. The protocol channels capacity that the exercises build. Without the practice, the counter move is an intellectual concept, not a behavioral reflex. With weeks of practice behind it, it's a focusing mechanism that brings your best preparation to the moment that matters most. A leader who's been doing expression exercises for 4 weeks has a completely different relationship with narrate your processing than one hearing it for the first time. The first leader can deploy it under pressure because the neural pathway is already built. The second can only think about it. Step back for a moment and look at what you've built across this course. A diagnosis for modules 2 and 3 that tells you which gap is primary. Gap-specific exercises from modules 4, 5, or 6 that build the capacity your gap requires. Virtual adaptations from Unit 7.1 that extend those exercises into the medium where you spend most of your working hours. Stress pattern awareness from the last video that tells you how your gap behaves under pressure. And now this pre-performance protocol that channels all of it into a 5-minute routine before any high-stakes moment. The distance between intention and perception hasn't disappeared, but it's measurable. And you have a system for closing it, one meeting at a time. Think about your next high-stakes moment. It might be next week, it might be next month. Which gap type is most likely to be amplified in that setting? What is the one adjustment you'll make? Write it down. Not 3 adjustments, 1. That's your counter move. Now practice it in 2 low-stakes meetings before the high-stakes moment arrives. By the time you need it, it won't feel like a technique you learned in a course. It'll feel like how you prepare. Look at the system on screen. Diagnosis from the ACE assessment in Module 3. Exercises from the modules that match your gap type. Context strategies from Module 6 and this module. And the high-stakes protocol from this video. Each component feeds the next. The diagnosis tells you which exercises to practice. The exercises build capacity. The protocol channels that capacity into the moments where it matters most. That's not a collection of tips. That's a system with diagnostic precision. This is not about becoming someone else in high-stakes moments. It's about making sure the person you already are is the person the room actually sees. Diagnosis, practice, protocol. The work isn't about building executive presence from nothing. It's about closing the gap between what you bring and what the room sees. Start with 1 meeting, 1 counter move, see what shifts,